We got a Miami Dolphins mailbag. That's today's edition of Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Nic Rohloff. As we continue into the offseason and are in between the first week of OTAs and second week of OTAs, got to answer some questions. But this is why you subscribe and turn on your notifications, because if you did not ask a question on today's show, well, we filmed this on our Tuesday live show, and maybe you didn't know we go live on Tuesdays. Well, that's why you got your notifications turned on. We go live once a week. As always, we have daily videos, so subscribe, turn on notifications. Only 14.1% of people have them turned on to all. Let's get that number up. Let's get to 10K total people. Hit that sub button, turn those notifications on so you never miss any content we put out here on the channel. I will start with Liam today. Do you think Tua will throw for 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns if he stays healthy the whole year? It's a great question. If you go back to his 2023 season where he stayed healthy for 17 games, he obviously threw for 4,600 yards, led the league, and only 29 touchdowns. So he's never had a year where he's thrown 30 touchdowns. So do I think it's going to happen this year? Probably not. 4,000 yards, I think so. Now, the one bit of hesitation I'll give this, Liam, is that I think Miami is going to try to be a more balanced offensive team this year. So I think they're going to lean on the run game more. It's why they went out and signed James Daniels to their biggest contract in free agency, 3 years, $24 million. They drafted Jonah Savinaya in the second round of Arizona. They traded up to go grab him, someone they coveted, had him high on their board. Like, they made the necessary improvements to fortify that O-line with Daniels, Savinaya, Patrick Paul, Jackson, Brewer round out that front five. So if they stay healthy on the O-line, I think they're going to try to run the ball a lot more. Signed Mattison, drafted right last year, drafted Ollie Gordon. So I think the yardage could be dicey, but it's not a bad reason. It's because it's going to be a more well-balanced Dolphins offense. But you told me he threw for 3,800 and 30 touchdowns this year. I would consider that a successful season for Tua Tagovailoa, as long as he did that in 17 games. Jonathan Soto coming in with a question or statement. My opinion, Miami makes playoffs if O-line plays near elite, even if we get just good play out of them. Tua can make the throws to the elite players. I will say this, Soto. I think the Dolphins, if their O-line plays at an above-average level, top 15 in the NFL, this offense will be a top 10 offense because they will hopefully have Tua playing all 17 games if they are able to keep him upright by having good offensive line play. Top half offensive line play also means you're going to run the ball more effectively in 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, inside the red zone, be more efficient, more well-balanced offense with that run-pass game combination. And Tua is a really good play-action quarterback. The statistics prove that. And especially with your offensive weapons being so threatening vertically, if you get some of these secondary players and linebackers just take a half step up on those play actions because you're able to run the football behind that O-line, well, now the big plays are back. Like, I think the offense will be top 10 in football if you get top half in the league offensive line play. Now, making the playoffs, I think, will be very hinged on the Dolphins secondary holding their own, or the front seven being so elite where it masquerades some of those secondary concerns. Like, to me, I think the Dolphins will have a top half offense, top half all line, top 10 offense. Can their defense be good enough to help get them to the playoffs? It's a favorable schedule. 10-7 absolutely on the table. If they get to double-digit wins, they probably make the playoffs for the third year in 4 years under Mike McDaniel. Speaking of Mike McDaniel, King Gaming with a $5 Super Chat question. Appreciate you, King Gaming. What could be, if any, Mike McDaniel, Chris Grier replacements if they do not do good this season? Well, I don't know if you're saying son to me, by the way. That feels disrespectful. Just kidding, King Gaming. But I can't confidently say any Chris Grier replacements. It's a little too hard to say a year out who the best executives on the market are going to be. But I could give some Mike McDaniel replacements because let's just say this. If the Dolphins defense, with how this secondary is currently constructed, is a top 15, top half defense in the NFL, and the Dolphins it doesn't go well for Miami due to, like, poor offense. They go 8-9, 7-10. They fire McDaniel. Well, if the defense is good again, I think Anthony Weaver can be your head coach replacement. I think he'd be your likely top guy. But other names that come to mind, I think a Joe Brady, the Bills offensive coordinator. I think Arthur Smith could get a second run around, even though I wouldn't really be in on that whatsoever. You could see maybe Mike Kafka, the offensive coordinator from the Giants. I think you could see maybe Robert Salah if you go defense. Maybe Todd Monken from Baltimore, the OC. Those are probably some of the bigger names that I would probably throw out there. Maybe Cliff Kingsbury. Like, those are probably the names that I would think of as I'm looking at a little bit of a list here. Now, maybe there's a coordinator that just comes out of nowhere and is unbelievably good this year and is the talk of the town. Mike McCarthy is still out there as well. Would I want Mike McCarthy? Probably not, but he's still out there. Like, there are names, but I would probably say, as of filming this on May 27th on our weekly Tuesday live show, if I had to put a bet on who's the next Dolphins head coach, not named Mike McDaniel, I would be probably willing to bet it's Anthony Weaver than anyone else. Mark Smith with a question. How do you feel about the short yardage game this season? Remember, we chatted about the possibility of a big back in the draft, and they did it and upgraded the guards. Mark, it should be way better. And if it's not, we have a legit issue, man. We do. Because you replace Robert Jones and Liam Eichenberg with James Daniels and Jonas Avinaya. That is just a monumental upgrade. It is. Aaron Burr returns at center. He's a good center. But going from Robert Jones to James Daniels is like going from a Hyundai Mazda to a Rolls Royce. And then going from Liam Eichenberg to Jonas Avinaya is like going from Mike Conley at age 37 to Anthony Edwards at age 24. Like, really. Like, these are massive upgrades. Now, they will need to rely on Alexander Mattison and maybe Ollie Gordon, because I'm not sure Devon Achane, no matter how good the O-line is going to be an elite short yardage back due to his small size and stature. But, yeah, Mattison, 5'11", 220. Gordon, 6'2", 225. Got some big backs in that backfield that you can use in situations like this now. So, ideally, Miami's 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, inside the 5 rushing attack will be exponentially better. Mark, it should be really, really good. I feel confident about it this year. All right, this has nothing to do with that question, but Jalen Ramsay is likely being traded over the next 72 hours. So where will he be traded, as it is now past June 1st? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. My prediction is the Los Angeles Rams. Let me know yours. Joey D with a question. Do you think Quinn Ewers can steal the job from Tua? No. I assume you're asking it this year. If you're asking it in terms of long term, I can't rule it out. Because if Tua misses more than 4 games again this season, plays 13 or less games this year, I think you officially have to say, all right, done. Time to start moving on. And because of his contract extension, he'll likely be on the roster in 2026, which is then where maybe you draft a quarterback next offseason, have him sit behind Tua, and then when you have the out on his 4-year deal after 2026, you can do that and have that rookie as a second-year guy. But maybe Quinn Ewers steals the job in 2025, or 2026, I should say. Like, maybe. I do not forecast it this year. It's Tua's job. I don't think Quinn Ewers could really do anything in the preseason or training camp to steal Tua's job this year. But if Quinn Ewers balls out and lights it up in the preseason, training camp, and practice all year long, and Tua gets hurt and proves he's not the guy long term, maybe Quinn Ewers could be the starter in 2026. Like, I wouldn't put it past that. So, do I think he could steal the job from Tua this year? I give it a 0% chance. Next season? 5%. Cameron with a question. Do you have any corners on the radar to trade or sign? So we often talk about Rasul Douglas, James Bradbury, Stephon Gilmore, Asante Samuel Jr. If we're talking a player not one of those 4 names, and in terms of signing, maybe a player we don't talk about enough is Mike Hilton. He's 30 years old, primarily a nickel corner, really good blitzing corner, really good run stopper as well, in that position. Now, if you sign Mike Hilton, is that you telling me you're putting Kader Kohou to the outside? It's a ballsy move. He's pretty undersized, but he's had to do it in the past. Shaquille Griffin's another name out there. And if I'm going to probably add a corner that isn't one of those 6 names we just mentioned, I would probably go to the trade market. Can you maybe get a Kobe Durant from the Rams in return for Jalen Ramsay if you trade Jalen to Los Angeles? Could you trade with the Chiefs to get Jalen Watson, who's entering the final year of his rookie contract and is likely not getting extended by Brett Veach in Kansas City? Could you get a Greg Newsome, who's entering the 5th year of his rookie contract, $13 million contract this year from Cleveland? Maybe Greg Newsome. So if you're talking trade candidates and targets, I'll throw out Jalen Watson, Greg Newsome. If we're talking signings, I'd probably say that we don't normally talk about Mike Hilton and Shaquille Griffin. All right, we got more questions to answer here in a second, but make sure you do subscribe to the channel. Daily Miami Dolphins content, 100% for free, no matter if it's trade rumors, news, segments. Let's talk about it. So hit that sub button and join us today. Watch parties are almost here. Mark Smith again with a question. Shout out to you, Mark. Will someone else step up so Liam isn't one injury away from playing? Borum, UDFA is the other center. Hashtag Dolphins. So here's my thing. If they ultimately don't add another offensive lineman, if you see Savianaya or Daniels get hurt, it's going to be Liam Eichenberg. Because to me, Larry Borum is your swing tackle to back up Patrick Paul and Austin Jackson. That's kind of how I view it. But if the Dolphins don't view Borum as someone that can transition the guard, well, then Eichenberg is your guy. And I'm just trying to figure out who could potentially replace him as that first depth piece on the interior. Maybe if they signed an Isaiah Wynn back in free agency. Like, do you believe one of these UDFAs, Addison West? Oh, I'm spacing on the guy from Michigan. Do we have the depth chart, Lopez, on the O-line? We do. I'd like to pull this back up, think about some names here. I know Addison West is one. I was thinking of Preeb from Michigan. Andrew Meyer was on the team last year. Ryan Hayes is a tackle. Like there's just not much to be excited about on this O-line depth. That's why I think signing someone should still absolutely be in play, whether it's Isaiah Wynn or someone else. But yeah, I don't really think any of these guys could step up. If I had to predict one, I'll go Preeb or Addison West as a UDFA that could maybe step up. Sherry May, Janu Smith is going to have a great year, isn't he, Nick? I hope so. I mean, Janu Smith was absolutely phenomenal in his first season on the Dolphins roster. I mean, he set a single-season record for the Dolphins in terms of receptions and yards with 88 catches and 884 yards. He also had 8 touchdowns. He was an absolute menace in the red zone. A couple of games at the end of the year, we had 2 touchdowns. He had the game winner against the Jets in that overtime game. Like, Janu should be a heavily featured piece of this offense. Now, the one thing that I will be a little concerned about when it comes to the Dolphins' plan at tight end is that what is the plan past Janu Smith? It's 1-year contract, Pharaoh Brown, Julian Hill. There's no young player in that tight end room. Like, are you going to extend Janu? Are you going to re-sign him next offseason? Or are you going to draft the tight end early next year? I don't know. But this tight end room is interesting. Like, I don't hate Jalen Conyers, the UDFA from Texas Tech. But this room outside of Janu isn't the best. So let's hope Janu stays healthy because he's going to be heavily relied on for that position in terms of the passing game as well as the blocking game. Julian Hill will be featured as a blocker as well. But either way, Janu's going to be heavily relied on for sure. What is your confidence level in the Miami Dolphins to make the playoffs this upcoming year? Say 10 is the most confident. 1 is the least confident. Get down in the comment section and let me know how you feel about the Fins making the 2025 NFL playoffs. London, do you think Waddle and Hill will still be on the same team this season? By the end of it? Ooh, tough question, actually. I'll say yes. I'll say yes. They will not be on the same team next year. We've detailed how that it's a guarantee that Hill gets released after the year due to his $52 million cap hit in next season, and the Dolphins saving $36 million in cap space, releasing him prior to June 1st. But this year, yeah, because the Dolphins would have to be the worst team in the NFL to trade him. Why do I say that? Well, it's because the trade deadline's in late October, which is the first 8 weeks of the year. And if you look at the Dolphins' schedule, the first 8 weeks of the year are the easiest. Miami should be 5-3 or 6-2. And I know a lot of people aren't high on them, but with how easy their schedule is, they should be at worst 4-4, at like most likely 5-2. My prediction, or 5-3. My prediction 6-2. And if you have a winning record at the end of October, you're not trading Tyreek Hill. So I do think him and Waddle will still be on the same team. It would take an absolute disaster earlier on in the season to trade Tyreek Hill, which I guess you could consider last year's start to the year a disaster with Tua getting hurt and how poorly they started. So if that happens again, yeah, maybe Tyreek gets traded at the deadline. But if they don't suffer a catastrophic injury to the offense or defense, yeah, I think they will likely be good enough to not sell at the deadline, and that would ensure Jaylen Waddle and Tyreek Hill ending the year on the same team. All right, that'll do it for today's mailbag. Appreciate everybody for getting in their questions. If you did not get a question in on today's show, you might have missed our mailbag on our Tuesday live show. So subscribe, join the channel, and never miss a piece of Dolphins content we put out.